Chapter 1. The Notification Paradox. You start the day hopeful, with a hot cup of coffee in hand and the best intentions. You sit down at the workstation. There's a list of tasks to tackle, and today is the day you'll knock them out. Then it begins. The first buzz of the phone, the pop-up on the laptop screen, the red circle appearing on the app icon. These are modern signals designed to grab your attention and divert it elsewhere. Each time you yield to them, your hope of a productive day slips through your fingers like sand in an hourglass. It's quite a paradox. These tools, email, messaging apps, social media, were built to make life easier, to improve communication, to help complete tasks efficiently. Yet, more often than not, they do the opposite. Instead of enabling productivity, they often become roadblocks on the path to getting things done. Consider email. It's fantastic, right? No need to send a letter or make a phone call. Just a few keystrokes and clicks, and your message is instantly delivered. But have you ever felt chained to your inbox? As if each new email is a microtask demanding immediate attention? The system, built to save time, ends up consuming it. And it's not just email. It's every app and platform buzzing, beeping, and flashing their way into the spotlight. It's the same with social media. What began as a means to stay connected has become an infinite scroll of distractions. Updates, likes, comments, each one luring attention away from tasks that genuinely matter. And let's not even get started on how news alerts can send your day off the rails. Remember that time when you thought installing a work chat app would make team communication smoother? It probably did for a bit, but then came the channels, the groups, the direct messages, and suddenly the tool designed to streamline conversation became a cacophony of constant chatter. Now, why does this happen? The answer is simpler than you might think. These tools are designed to be addictive. They thrive on engagement. And what better way to engage someone than to nudge them continually? Each notification triggers a small release of dopamine, a feel-good hormone. It's human to want to feel good, so you keep going back again and again, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. It's like eating potato chips. The first few taste great, and then you can't stop. You keep reaching for more until the bag is empty, and you're left feeling anything but satisfied. Similarly, constant notifications may feel rewarding initially, but they drain your mental energy, leaving you unproductive and unsatisfied at the end of the day. In a world that's increasingly noisy, finding your silent mode is not just a good idea, it's essential. Imagine trying to have a meaningful conversation in the middle of a bustling street market. You'd have to raise your voice, repeat yourself, and still miss half of what's being said. Now, think of your mind as that conversation, and notifications as the bustling market. Unless you find a way to silence the noise, meaningful work becomes a struggle. So, how do you navigate this paradox? Well, you need strategies that transform these tools back into what they were intended to be, aids that enhance productivity rather than hinder it. To do that, you'll first need to understand the nature of human attention, how it functions, and why it's so vital to protect it. Throughout this book, you'll find practical steps to declutter your digital life, tips to set boundaries, and methods to make technology work for you instead of against you. With these tools in your arsenal, reclaiming your focus and skyrocketing your productivity becomes more than achievable. It becomes your new norm. But before diving into these actionable insights, it's important to measure the true cost of constant interruptions. The numbers may seem shocking at first, but awareness is the first step to recovery. Are you ready to turn the tide? Are you ready to reclaim your focus, your time, and your productivity? If so, the journey begins now. The paradox can be broken, and a rewarding, productive work life awaits on the other side. Chapter 2. Understanding the Nature of Attention. When you sit down to focus on a task, you're not just competing with external distractions, like your phone buzzing or your coworker stopping by for a chat. You're also wrestling with your brain's own limitations. It's like trying to fill a small cup with water. The cup can only hold so much before it overflows. In the same way, your attention has a limit, and understanding how it works can revolutionize how you approach your day-to-day activities. First, let's get something straight. Your attention is a finite resource. You only have so much of it to go around. Think of it as money in your wallet. If you're spending it everywhere, you'll soon end up with none. Why? Because there's only so much in there to begin with. The same goes for attention. Squander it on too many things, and you'll find there's none left for the tasks that really matter. Why does this happen? Well, you're not a machine. Your brain needs rest. Just like you can't sprint for hours on end, your brain can't focus nonstop. When you try to, it's like revving a car engine for too long. You'll end up burning out. No one wants that. Now, you might wonder, what's the big deal if I check my phone while working on a report? The problem lies in how your brain switches between tasks. Each switch is like taking a detour on your way home. Sure, you'll get home eventually, but it'll take longer and you'll waste fuel, or in this case, mental energy. It's not just the time that you lose, it's also the quality of your attention that declines. So the more you switch your focus, the less effective you become. Ever had those days where you're doing a lot, but feel like nothing meaningful got done? That's the telltale sign of an attention reservoir that's been drained dry. You're left with an empty feeling of mental fatigue and a pile of tasks that are still pending. Now, you might think that multitasking could be the answer to juggling all these demands on your attention. Who hasn't thought that doing 2 or 3 things at once is better? It's a tempting idea, but unfortunately, it's a myth. Your brain is not designed to focus on multiple tasks at once. Sure, you could walk and chew gum, but when it comes to tasks that need real mental effort, trying to multitask usually means you do everything poorly. Remember cramming for a test while chatting with friends and watching TV? How did that turn out? If it's hard to recall, that's another side effect of divided attention, poor memory retention. When attention is scattered, it's harder for the brain to move information from short-term to long-term memory. That's why cramming might help you pass a test the next day, but ask about the material a week later, and it's all but forgotten. Now, let's switch gears a little. Imagine a world where you could make the most out of your limited attention. Imagine you could pour all that mental energy into tasks that actually matter. Wouldn't that be something? It all starts with being picky, very picky, about what you pay attention to. Remember, you've only got so much quote-unquote money in that attention wallet. Don't spend it on cheap trinkets that clutter up your life. Choose to invest it in things that yield long-term benefits, meaningful work, learning, and quality time with loved ones. So, what can be done to protect this precious resource? The strategies are many, but they all revolve around setting boundaries and making conscious choices. Just like you wouldn't leave your front door wide open, you shouldn't leave your attention vulnerable to every random demand or distraction. This means auditing notification settings, carving out focus time in the calendar, and maybe even some good old-fashioned do not disturb signs. And then there's the skill of saying no, not just to others, but to yourself. That urge to check social media, say no. The temptation to dive into a rabbit hole of irrelevant information, say no. It's not easy, but it's crucial. Saying no to the non-essential allows you to say yes to what truly matters. It allows you to make meaningful progress in areas that align with your goals and values. You might think of this as the economic principle of opportunity cost applied to your life. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. Is what you're gaining worth more than what you're giving up? If not, then it might be time to reconsider. By now, it's hopefully clear that managing attention is not a luxury, but a necessity. As the tasks pile up and the notifications flood in, the need to protect your attention becomes even more urgent. Only when you master the art of paying attention can you unlock the full potential of your time, skills, and energy. So, as you journey through the rest of this book, the strategies and solutions offered will keep bringing you back to this core principle. Your attention is finite, valuable, and worth protecting. Equip yourself to manage it wisely, and you'll transform not just your work life, but perhaps your entire life experience. Chapter 3. The True Cost of Constant Interruptions. Ever been in a situation where you're on a roll, ideas are flowing, and work is getting done? It's a sweet spot known as the zone. But then, out of nowhere, a notification pops up, and just like that, the magic is gone. It's like a spell has been broken. Sure, it takes only a few seconds to check that message or update, but getting back into the zone? That's a whole different story. It's time to talk numbers. How much is this costing you? It's easy to underestimate the toll that constant interruptions take on productivity, creativity, and even mental well-being. You might think a quick glance at a notification is harmless, but let's dig into what research has to say about it. Firstly, studies have shown that it takes an average of about 23 minutes to fully regain focus after a distraction. Multiply that by the number of times you get distracted in a day, and the numbers start to get alarming. Let's say you're interrupted just 5 times in a workday. That's nearly 2 hours lost, simply in trying to regain your focus. Put in terms of a 5-day work week, you're losing almost 10 hours. That's more than a full workday gone every week. Now, think about what could have been achieved in those lost hours. Important tasks finished, ideas developed, or even some well-deserved relaxation time. The time lost to constant interruptions isn't just time, it's potential. It's opportunities missed and goals postponed. But there's more than just lost time at stake here. There's also the matter of cognitive load. Your brain has to work harder when it's continually shifting focus, and that comes with its own set of problems. Picture this. Every time you switch tasks, your brain has to pick up where it left off, recall objectives, and refocus. It's like stopping mid-workout and then expecting to lift the same amount of weight right away. You're not as effective, and it's a lot harder. And then there's the impact on creativity. When you're always in reactive mode, responding to notifications and interruptions, you're not giving your mind the space it needs to connect ideas and think outside the box. Creativity is like a plant. It needs room to grow. If your attention is always chopped up into tiny pieces, there's little room left for creative thought to bloom. That's not just a loss for you, it's a loss for your team, your company, and even society at large, which misses out on the great ideas you could have come up with. Don't forget the wear and tear on mental well-being. Constant interruptions lead to increased stress. Why? Because they create a sense of urgency. Every notification feels like a mini emergency, triggering a small release of stress hormones. Over time, this heightened state of alert can lead to burnout, anxiety, and decreased quality of life. The irony is clear. Tools designed to make life easier end up making it more stressful. So, what does this all add up to? A work environment where people are less productive, less creative, and less happy. It's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved. When you put it in these terms, the cost of constant interruptions is not just high, it's unacceptable. But knowledge is the first step to making meaningful changes. You can't fix a problem until you recognize it's there. And recognizing it is not just about being aware of it, but understanding its full impact. This isn't about demonizing technology or advocating for a return to the Stone Age. It's about using technology wisely so that it serves you, not the other way around. Think of it this way. Would you keep a pet that bites you every time you try to feed it? Probably not. So why tolerate tools and habits that hurt your productivity and well-being? Realizing the cost of constant interruptions primes you for the next chapters, where strategies to combat this issue will be laid out in detail. You're not powerless in this situation, far from it. With the right methods and a bit of discipline, you can turn the tide and start reclaiming those lost hours, that untapped creativity, and your peace of mind. It's not just about surviving in a world full of distractions. It's about thriving despite them. So, are you ready to confront the elephant in the room and make some overdue changes? The high cost of interruptions is a bill no one should have to pay. It's time to take back control of your time, your focus, and your life. And the roadmap to doing just that starts in the next chapter. Chapter 4. The 5 Pillars of Communication Overload. Let's get down to business. To tackle the issue of communication overload, it's essential to identify the major culprits. Think of them as the 5 pillars that hold up the overwhelming structure of constant notifications and interruptions. Email, text, instant messages, or IMs, social media, and meetings. Understanding these pillars will help lay the groundwork for the actionable solutions you'll find in later chapters. Email. the granddaddy of digital communication. It revolutionized the way the world talks, but now serves as a constant source of distraction. The ding of a new email arrives, and what do? You stop whatever you're working on to check it. Email has transformed from a tool of convenience into a never-ending conveyor belt of tasks, questions, and, let's be honest, mostly junk. The issue is that anyone at any time can add to your to-do list by sending an email. It's like leaving your front door wide open and allowing anyone to walk in and rearrange your furniture. Text. If email is the granddaddy, then texting is the cool younger sibling that everyone likes but can't quite manage. Texts are supposed to be quick, easy, and casual. But what happens when they become constant? Your focus gets split into a million little pieces. Text messages, by their very nature, encourage rapid responses. Ignoring a text feels rude, so you reply. And then they reply, and before you know it, you're locked into a conversation when you should be focused on work. Like a quicksand, it pulls you in. Instant messages, or IMs. Work-based IM platforms were supposed to make collaboration easier. In many ways, they have. But they've also turned into another stream of endless notifications. The problem with IMs is that they blur the line between urgent and non-urgent communication. A colleague can send you a silly GIF or ask a critical question about a project, all in the same platform. It's like mixing up your toolbox with your toy box. You can't find what you need when you need it. Social media. It's the virtual water cooler where people hang out, share updates, and scroll through feeds. It feels like relaxation, but is it? Each check-in on social media might seem short, but the time adds up, and so does the mental load. Plus, social media platforms are designed to keep you hooked. They're the casino slot machines of the digital age. Every scroll could reveal something exciting, so you keep scrolling and scrolling. Meanwhile, your focus and productivity are taking a hit. Meetings. Yes, even good old-fashioned face-to-face communication can contribute to overload. Why? Because meetings often fill time, but accomplish little. They break up the workday into chunks that are too small to get anything meaningful done. You sit there, looking at the clock, wondering why an email or a quick IM couldn't have handled the issue. It's the corporate version of running in place. You're doing something, but you're not getting anywhere. So there you are, the 5 pillars of communication overload. They're so ingrained in daily life that you might not even question their impact. But understanding is the first step toward mastery. These tools aren't going away, nor should they. They serve important purposes when used wisely. The key phrase here is when used wisely. Now, a challenge often arises when trying to solve a multifaceted issue like this one. Where do you even start? The answer is simple but not easy. You start by being intentional. Each of these pillars offers something valuable, but also demands a piece of your attention, your most limited resource. You have the power to control how and when to engage with each pillar, and future chapters will arm you with strategies to do just that. So if you're tired of feeling like a puppet with these 5 pillars pulling your strings, you're in the right place. You're not just going to learn how to manage these forms of communication. You're going to learn how to make them work for you, not against you. It's time to turn these pillars into stepping stones that lead to higher levels of focus and productivity. Ready to take the next step? Onward! Chapter 5. Prioritizing What Matters. Imagine standing in the middle of a bustling city intersection with traffic coming at you from all sides, horns blaring, people shouting, and you're just trying to figure out which way to go. That's what it feels like to exist in a world bombarded by notifications without having any clear goals or priorities. But what if you could silence the noise and make your path crystal clear? The secret to cutting through the noise is prioritization, knowing what matters most and letting that guide you. It's not just about to-do list, it's about to-don't list, too. It's deciding not just what to focus on, but what to ignore. When you know what matters, it becomes a whole lot easier to mute the distractions that don't. Goals as the North Star. Imagine you're sailing across the ocean. Without a North Star to guide you, any direction can seem as good as any other, and you'd end up drifting aimlessly. Goals serve as your North Star. They don't dictate each step you take, but they guide your general direction. Knowing your destination makes it easier to ignore or bypass anything that doesn't lead you there. So how do you set goals that serve you? I offer up 5 suggestions. 1. Be specific. Vague goals lead to vague results. Don't just aim to be more productive. Instead, target something specific, like finishing a project by a certain date. 2. Make it measurable. What gets measured gets managed. Having a goal that's measurable helps you track your progress and stay on course. 3. Ensure it's achievable. Your goals should push you, but still be within reach. Unrealistic goals only lead to frustration and giving up. 4. Relevance is key. Choose goals that matter to you and align with your values. It's hard to stay committed to a goal that doesn't resonate with you. And 5. Time-bound. Give your goals a deadline. Open-ended goals tend to get postponed and eventually forgotten. The magic of prioritization. Once goals are in place, you can decide on your priorities. These are the actions or tasks that align most closely with your goals. Doing them will give you the most bang for your buck. Everything else becomes secondary or even irrelevant. Let's talk about the Eisenhower box, a simple but powerful tool for prioritization. Picture a box divided into 4 sections. 1. Urgent and important. These are tasks that align with your goals and need immediate attention. This is your prime focus. 2. Important but not urgent. These also align with your goals but don't require immediate action. Plan to do these soon. 3. Urgent but not important. These tasks need quick action, but don't help you reach your goals. Delegate them if you can. And 4. Neither urgent nor important. These are the distractions that you should avoid or put off until all other tasks are complete. Now think of your incoming notifications and how they fit into these categories. When a new email arrives or your phone buzzes, mentally sort it into one of these boxes. This simple act gives you clarity and helps you decide whether it's worth your immediate attention. The shield of priority. With goals set and priorities clear, they start acting like a shield. An irrelevant notification comes through. It bounces off because it doesn't align with your priorities. When you know what matters, you become like a magnet, attracting what you need and repelling what you don't. This might sound simple, but remember, simple doesn't mean easy. It takes discipline to keep your focus razor sharp. But once you do, you'll find that not only do you get more done, but what you get done actually matters. It's a living process. Life isn't static, and neither should your goals and priorities be. Regularly revisit them. Maybe a goal that seemed important 3 months ago doesn't hold the same weight now. That's okay. Adjust your sails, realign with your North Star, and continue on your journey. The power of saying no. With your priorities set, you gain something incredibly powerful: the ability to say no. Each time you say no to a distraction, you're essentially saying yes to your goals and priorities. And every yes brings you one step closer to where you want to be. In closing, think of your goals and priorities as your personal navigation system, guiding you through the maze of constant notifications and endless to-dos. With this system in place, no longer will you drift aimlessly in the sea of distractions. Instead, you'll sail straight toward your destination, letting the irrelevant matters fade away in the wake behind you. Ready to set your course? The tools are in your hands. All you have to do is use them. Chapter 6. The Notification Audit. Stepping into a cluttered room can be overwhelming. You don't know where to look, what to tackle first, or even how all this mess got here. The same sensation strikes when bombarded with notifications from every corner of the digital world. It's high time to roll up those sleeves and do what's needed: a full-blown notification audit. What is a notification audit? At its core, a notification audit is an organized check of all things that ping, ding, and ring in your life. It's an inventory of what gets your attention throughout the day. But don't mistake it for a one-time cleanup. Think of it more like seasonal cleaning. It needs to happen periodically to keep the digital clutter at bay. Step 1 of the audit: identify the sources. The first order of business is to identify where the notifications are coming from. Every device, every app, every platform that is programmed to interrupt you goes on this list. Sure, emails and text messages are the usual suspects, but what about the lesser-known culprits? Maybe it's an app you downloaded months ago and forgot about, or perhaps a social media platform where you least expected to be interrupted. Don't skip anything. Step 2. Categorize the impact. Once you have identified the sources, the next step is to categorize their impact. Are they useful or useless? Do they align with your goals and priorities, or do they take away from what matters? Create 3 categories. 1. High value. These notifications are important. They align with your goals and are often urgent. Number 2. Moderate value. They may not be urgent, but they still serve a purpose. They may not need immediate attention, but you should not ignore them either. 3. Low or no value. These are distractions. They neither align with your goals nor require your immediate attention. On to step 3. Take action. Now that you have your list, it's time to take action. 1. High value. Keep these on, but with conditions. Maybe it's only between certain hours or when you're in specific locations. 2. Moderate value. Consider bundling these. Rather than getting notified every time something happens, can you get a daily summary instead? And 3. Low or no value. Turn these off right now. These are the first to go. Step 4. Set boundaries. It's essential to set boundaries. For instance, consider turning off all notifications during your most productive hours. This could be your deep work time, and when your focus needs to be laser sharp. And don't just limit it to work. Think about personal time too. Maybe dinner time is a no notification zone. Step 5. Implement and test. After setting the rules, it's time to put them to the test. Implement these changes for a week and take notes on any shifts in productivity, focus, and overall well-being. You'll likely find that not only do you get more work done, but you'll also enjoy a greater sense of peace and control. And finally, Step 6. Regularly review and update. A notification audit isn't a one-off activity. It's something you need to revisit periodically. Apps change, responsibilities shift, and life happens. What was once a high-value notification may lose its importance, and vice versa. Therefore, make it a habit to review your notification settings at least once every 3 months. The transformative power of awareness. The real power of a notification audit lies in awareness. Once you know what's interrupting you and why, you wield the power to change it. It's like flipping on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, you can see everything clearly. The clutter that was tripping you up, you can navigate around it, or better yet, get rid of it. From reaction to proaction. After a successful notification audit, you'll notice something incredible. You're no longer reacting to the world is reacting to you. Instead of being pulled in 100 different directions, you become the one setting the course. In summary, a notification audit is more than just an exercise in turning off a few alerts. It's about reclaiming your attention and, in doing so, reclaiming control over your work and your life. It may take some time and a bit of effort, but the return on investment is immense. So go ahead, make a date with yourself to perform your first notification audit. After all, there's no better time to regain control than right now. Chapter 7. Your Work Environment. The Power of Environment in Shaping Behavior. Ever walked into a gym and felt motivated to work out? Or entered a library and felt the urge to whisper? That's no accident. Environments have a powerful influence on behavior. They set the tone, cue the actions, and often determine the outcome. So why should the work environment be any different? It's time to delve into the simple yet transformative ways to craft both physical and digital spaces that will help not just fight against distractions, but also serve as catalyst for productivity. Physical environment, the bedrock of focus. Desk organization. A clean desk is more than just an aesthetic choice. It eliminates visual clutter, which means less mental clutter. Keep only essential items within arm's reach. Anything not immediately necessary should have its designated spot, out of sight, but easily accessible when needed. Room layout. Consider the flow of the room. Is the desk facing a wall to minimize distractions, or is it facing the door where every passerby catches your eye? The ideal layout varies from person to person, but the principle remains the same. Design it so it's easier to do the work and harder to get distracted. Lighting and color. Good lighting is critical. Too much glare or too little light can strain the eyes, making it harder to focus. And don't overlook colors. They can affect mood. Blues and greens are often linked with increased focus and calmness, whereas reds can be stimulating but also distracting. Digital environment, the new frontier. Desktop hygiene. Just as a cluttered desk can be distracting, so can a cluttered desktop. Each icon is a siren calling for attention. Simplify. Organize files into folders and keep only the most crucial items on the desktop. Browser sanity. Multiple tabs open? Each one is an attention leech. Use browser extensions that limit the number of tabs you can have open or that automatically close unused tabs after a set period. App order. Most smartphones allow customizing the home screen. Make it work for you. Keep the essential and high-value apps front and center. Relegate the time sinks and attention grabbers to the second or third screen, or better yet, delete them. Contextual triggers. Setting the stage for success. The 2-minute rule. Make it a habit to deal with minor tasks immediately. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. This simple rule keeps the small stuff from piling up and creating a mountain of distractions later on. Time blocking. Block out specific times for different types of work and stick to them. Knowing there's a designated time to handle emails or meetings frees the mind to focus on the task at hand. Break rituals. Everyone needs breaks, but a break doesn't have to mean a break from productivity. Establish a mini ritual for break times that refreshes without pulling too far off course. Maybe it's a 5-minute walk or a quick mindfulness session. The key is to make it rejuvenating but not derailing. Combining the physical and digital. The real magic happens when the physical and digital environments are in harmony. Use sticky notes on your computer monitor to remind yourself of today's top goals. Place your phone in another room while doing deep work, but use an app to track the time spent focused. It's not about one versus the other. It's about how both can complement each other. Reaping the rewards of a conducive environment. Taking the time to craft a focused work environment pays dividends in the form of higher productivity, better quality work, and improved mental well-being. But don't expect an overnight transformation. It's all about small adjustments that compound over time. It's not just about battling distractions. It's about creating a space that makes focus the default setting. In the end, the aim is to build an environment where you don't have to expend extra effort to focus. Instead, the environment does the heavy lifting. It's an environment where your goals aren't just wishes, but natural outcomes of your day-to-day actions. It's not just about creating a space where you can work. It's about crafting a space where you can excel. So take a look around. What small changes can be made right now to foster a more productive work environment? After all, when it comes to boosting focus and productivity, the environment isn't just a backdrop, it's a lead actor. Chapter 8. Mindfulness and Technology. The space between stimulus and response. Ever notice how a sudden ding from a phone can make the heart race a little faster? Or how the urge to check a new message can almost feel like a reflex? These are automatic reactions. Yet, within that split second between stimulus, the notification and response, and grabbing the phone, lies a world of choice. It's a brief but invaluable moment where mindfulness can intervene, transforming knee-jerk reactions into considered responses. Why mindfulness matters? Mindfulness is not just a buzzword. It's a tool, a skill that trains the brain to pay attention. This form of focused attention acts like a spotlight, illuminating what's truly important and casting aside what's not. By being mindful, one can navigate through the maze of technological distractions with far greater ease and intention. Basic mindfulness techniques. Deep breathing. Start simple. When a notification arrives, instead of diving for the device, take 3 deep breaths. This small pause creates a buffer, a space to decide if responding to that notification is truly necessary at that moment. Body scan. A quick scan from head to toe brings awareness back to the present. This mindfulness technique acts like a grounding wire, reminding you where you are and what you were doing before the ping, ding, or ring pulled you away. Thought labeling. Assign a label to the incoming stimulus. Is it urgent? Important? Neither? Labeling helps to categorize and thus prioritize, giving a clearer perspective on the real value or urgency of a notification. Practicing mindful consumption of technology. Scheduled check-ins. Designate specific times to check emails, social media, or messages. By doing this, you're taking back control over your time and attention. The device is now serving you, not the other way around. The 5-second rule. Count to 5 slowly before reacting to a notification. This might seem like a trivial amount of time, but you'd be surprised how often it's enough to shift from a reactive to a responsive mindset. Mindful swiping. Even the simple act of unlocking a smartphone can be done mindfully. Before swiping, pause for a moment. Why are you unlocking the device? What do you intend to do? This helps align actions with intentions. Transforming interruptions into mindfulness bells. Turn the tables on notifications. Instead of viewing them as constant interruptions, consider them as mindfulness bells, a call to be present. Each time a notification arrives, use it as a cue to practice one of the mindfulness techniques we've discussed already. Slowly but surely, you'll find that what was once a source of distraction can serve as a tool for focus. Mindfulness as a buffer against decision fatigue. Every decision made, no matter how small, uses mental energy. By day's end, this decision-making ability can wear thin, a phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Mindfulness adds a layer of insulation against this fatigue, preserving the mental energy required for making better choices throughout the day. Measure to manage. Tracking progress. Keep tabs on your mindfulness practice. Apps are available to track how many times a phone is unlocked or how long different apps are used. Use these metrics as feedback for mindful tech use. Over time, trends will appear, providing insights into habits and behaviors. Reclaiming the command seat. Mindfulness is about being in control of your actions and, by extension, your life. It puts you back in the driver's seat, where even amidst the endless pings and pops of digital life, you remain steadfastly at the helm. Through continued mindfulness practice, you'll find that the intrusive reach of technology will recede. You're no longer pulled in 100 different directions, chasing after each new ping. Instead, you'll find the clarity to focus on what really matters, the peace of mind to immerse in deep work, and the mental fortitude to truly engage in meaningful interactions, both online and off. The goal here isn't to escape technology. It's too integral to modern life for that to be realistic. The aim is to coexist with it harmoniously, to wield it as a tool for productivity rather than a weapon of mass distraction. Mindfulness isn't just about calming the mind, it's about empowering it. So next time that device buzzes, remember, you have a choice. Will it be a mindless reaction or a mindful response? The power lies within that split second. And in that split second lies the power to reclaim your focus, your time, and your life. Chapter 9. Setting Boundaries. The Power of Saying No. There's an underrated skill, an unspoken key to productivity and focus. It's the ability to say no. Saying no to unnecessary meetings, saying no to constant inbox checking, and even saying no to the boss. Within reason, of course. It's all about setting boundaries. These boundaries act as a moat around the castle of your focus, defending against the invading armies of distractions and interruptions. Boundaries at the office. The Do Not Disturb sign. Imagine walking into an office and seeing a Do Not Disturb sign hanging on a cubicle or office door. Would you walk in? Probably not. This physical sign acts as a visible boundary, a clear message that someone is in deep work mode. The same principle can apply in digital landscapes. Use features like Do Not Disturb on messaging apps or an out-of-office auto-reply for emails during focused periods. The calendar, your first line of defense. A well-structured calendar isn't just a schedule. It's a boundary wall. Block out time for specific tasks and stick to it as much as possible. This is not about rigidity. It's about making intentional choices for how to use your time. Others will start to respect your calendar's boundaries when they see you do. Communicating your boundaries. How you communicate boundaries is almost as important as setting them. Here are some techniques. Be direct but tactful. There's a fine line between being assertive and being rude. Phrases like, I'm currently working on a project and need to focus. Can we talk at 3 p.m. instead? Strikes a good balance. The sandwich technique. If saying no makes you uneasy, employ the sandwich technique. Start with something positive, insert the no, and then end with another positive note. For example, I'd love to help you with that, but I'm swamped with another project right now. Could we revisit this tomorrow? Use team platforms to your advantage. Many team collaboration platforms allow you to set your status. Use this feature to show when you're in deep focus and shouldn't be disturbed. You're not shutting people out, you're merely guiding them on how to respect your time. Managing up. Setting boundaries with the boss. Contrary to popular belief, it's possible to set boundaries with bosses without endangering your job. The key lies in framing. Instead of saying, I can't do X, try saying, if I focus on X, then Y might suffer. How would you like me to prioritize? This way, you're not saying no, you're inviting a discussion about priorities. The sacredness of lunch hours and breaks. Breaks, including lunch hours, are not optional. They're essential. Research shows that taking short breaks can actually increase productivity. So protect this time like you would any other meeting. Don't let it be swallowed up by just one more email or an urgent meeting. The inner boundary, self-discipline. The final and perhaps most important boundary is one you set with yourself. This is about internal discipline, the commitment to respect your own rules and schedules. Time boxing. Assign specific boxes of time for particular activities and stick to them. The goal here isn't just to allocate time, but to respect those allocations as you would a meeting with someone else. The 2-minute rule. A rule so nice, I wrote it twice. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This clears the deck for more focused work and avoids the cognitive load of remembering small tasks. The self-audit. Periodically, audit your actions. Are you respecting your own boundaries? Are you allowing small distractions to creep in? Self-awareness is the first step to better self-discipline. A life with boundaries is a life of freedom. This may sound contradictory, but the more boundaries you set, the more freedom you'll find. Each boundary liberates you from decision fatigue, from the onslaught of demands, and from the chaos of an unstructured workday. They free up cognitive space, allowing you to delve into meaningful work, to explore creativity, and to engage in the kind of deep thinking that solves problems and drives progress. Setting boundaries is not about limiting yourself. It's about creating the space for limitless growth. So go ahead, set those boundaries, guard your time, protect your focus. Your future self will thank you for it. Chapter 10. The Art of Single-Tasking. The Multitasking Myth. There's a modern myth that being busy is the same as being effective, that juggling many tasks at once is the mark of a high performer. Science, however, paints a different picture. Multitasking for most people turns out to be a fancy word for being less effective. It's like being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. The mental toll of switching tasks. Each time you switch from one task to another, your brain pays a toll. It has to refocus, reorient, and this process takes time and energy. Think of it as having several browser tabs open. The more tabs, the slower the browser. Your brain operates on similar principles. Keep too many tabs open, and things start to slow down. The mental fog rolls in, and it becomes hard to see things clearly. The high cost of task switching. There's a term in psychology called attention residue. This means that even after switching tasks, part of your attention remains stuck on the previous activity. This is the real reason why multitasking seems to slow you down. The mental power you think you're allocating to a new task is already drained by the leftover attention residue from the last one. It's like trying to fill a cup that's already full. Something's got to spill over. The counterintuitive brilliance of single-tasking. Single-tasking is the practice of dedicating oneself to a single task and ruthlessly avoiding distractions. This strategy might seem counterintuitive in a world that praises the busy bee, but the truth is that single-tasking is a superpower. By dedicating your full focus to one thing, you do it faster and better. There are fewer errors to correct, and the quality of your work increases. Single-tasking turns out to be a win-win for both time and quality. How to master single-tasking. Strategies and tips. Time blocking. Set aside specific blocks of time to focus on one task. Turn off notifications and minimize all other distractions. It's like creating a personal VIP lounge for your task. Only those on the list get in. Prioritize. Choose the most important task, often the hardest or most complex, and tackle it first. Use the 80-20 principle, recognizing that 20% of your efforts yield 80% of the results. Use technology wisely. Tech can be both a friend and a foe. Use apps that promote focus and block distractions. Tools like website blockers or focus-oriented music can serve you well. Take intentional breaks. Use methods like the Pomodoro technique, where you focus for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. This creates a rhythm for your work, allowing you to rest without derailing your focus. Create a dedicated work environment. Just as an artist has a studio, so should you have a dedicated work environment. Make it a space where focus is the default setting, not an occasional guest. The unseen benefits of single tasking. Improved mental well-being. Ever feel drained at the end of a day, even when you've accomplished little? That's the toll of multitasking. Single tasking not only helps you in your work, but also leaves you with a greater sense of satisfaction and less mental fatigue. Better work-life balance. When work hours are more productive, there's less need for overtime. This frees up time for hobbies, relaxation, and quality times with loved ones. It's amazing how the simple act of focusing can have ripple effects that improve all areas of life. Skill mastery. By giving each task your undivided attention, you dive deeper and learn faster. Whether you're coding, writing, or designing, you become better at what you do. The quality of your output increases, and so does your value in the marketplace. Taking the leap from multi to single. Let's be honest. Transitioning from multitasking to single tasking won't happen overnight. It's a habit, and like any habit, it takes time to build. Start small. Dedicate just 1 hour each day to single tasking and gradually increase that time. Soon you'll wonder how you ever managed the chaos of multitasking. Single tasking is not about doing less. It's about doing more of what matters. It's about optimizing the quality and quantity of your work. When distractions are set aside, when the noise fades away, what's left is the pure art of focus. That's where true mastery and productivity lie. With single tasking, you're not just ticking off boxes, you're crafting a masterpiece, one brushstroke at a time. Chapter 11. Easing into Do Not Disturb. The inevitable ding of modern life. Imagine being engrossed in a project, thoughts flowing, productivity soaring, and then, ding, an email arrives. A moment later, a social media notification pops up. Next, a text. It's a familiar tale. Interruptions, whether big or small, throw a wrench into your flow. It's like trying to swim while constantly getting hit by waves. It disrupts your momentum. Thankfully, there's a lifeguard at the beach, the Do Not Disturb function. The power of Do Not Disturb. The Do Not Disturb function is simple, but it has a powerful effect on productivity. It's like putting a virtual busy sign on your workspace. When this mode is activated, notifications go silent, allowing you to focus on the task at hand. It's an immediate step toward reclaiming your focus and giving priority to what truly matters. The different flavors of Do Not Disturb. While most people are familiar with the basic Do Not Disturb function on their smartphones, not everyone knows that many other platforms and devices offer similar features. Whether it's a computer operating system, a messaging app, or even smart home devices, the function exists in multiple forms. Smartphones and tablets. On both Android and iOS devices, activating Do Not Disturb is a breeze. A quick dive into settings and a couple of toggles can silence all but the most urgent calls and text. Some devices even allow the function to kick in automatically during set hours, like during a regular workday or bedtime. Computers and laptops. Mac OS and Windows users can also silence notifications. On a Mac, it's a matter of swiping to open the Notification Center and turning on Do Not Disturb. On a Windows machine, Focus Assist can be activated from the Settings menu. Messaging apps. Even within apps like Slack or Microsoft Teams, a Do Not Disturb or Away mode can be activated. This silences notifications and alerts team members that you're focusing on something important. Smart home devices. Own a smart speaker or other connected home devices? Many of them have built-in Do Not Disturb options. This can keep the device from interrupting with notifications or announcements. The roadblocks to Do Not Disturb. Let's be honest, there's some resistance to using Do Not Disturb. Maybe it's the fear of missing something crucial, or maybe it's the desire to always be available. But here's the simple truth. The cost of constant availability is your own productivity and well-being. Overcoming the barriers, the 3 C's. Clarity. Before activating Do Not Disturb, clarify your objectives. Understand what you're trying to accomplish. If the goal is to focus on a specific project, then going distraction-free is the most rational step to take. Communication. Inform people who might need to contact you that you're entering a period of focus. This heads-up ensures that team members, friends, or family won't feel ignored or neglected. Consistency. Use Do Not Disturb regularly and make it part of your daily routine. Consistency is the key to making any change stick. The bonus features. Some Do Not Disturb settings allow exceptions, so if there are people whose calls or messages you can't afford to miss, you might set them as exceptions. This means you can focus without fretting about missing something truly urgent. The lasting impact of silence. The benefit of using Do Not Disturb isn't just a short-term spike in productivity. It's a long-term investment in your mental well-being. By regularly giving yourself the space to focus, you're also giving yourself permission to be more present in your work. You might find you finish your work quicker and at a higher quality, freeing up time for other important aspects of life. A culture shift. When you start using Do Not Disturb, it not only changes your work habits, but can also influence the work culture around you. Team members may follow suit, leading to a work environment that respects focus and minimizes distractions. This isn't just about individual improvement. It's about raising the collective productivity and well-being. The first step is the hardest. The first time you toggle that Do Not Disturb setting, it might feel strange, perhaps even anxiety-inducing, but give it time. As the initial anxiety fades, what comes into focus is your ability to do more, be more. You'll begin to feel the freedom that comes from being in control of your own attention. And once that happens, there's no looking back. So go ahead. Flip that switch, reclaim your focus, and elevate your life. Chapter 12. The DARE Model, a framework for the overwhelmed. Take a moment to think about how your day goes. There's a constant buzz of messages, the pings from apps, the chirps from social media, all demanding attention. It's an orchestra of interruptions that leaves one yearning for silence. Here enters the DARE model, a 4-step approach to tackle this cacophony. Declutter, automate, relegate, and eliminate. Declutter, the first layer of defense. The first step is to clean house. That means going through all the apps, services, and platforms, generating notifications, and asking a simple question. Is this necessary? The 48-hour test. A straightforward way to judge an app's worth is the 48-hour test. Disable notifications for 2 days and see if anything urgent or important was missed. If not, it's safe to say those notifications aren't crucial and can be permanently turned off. Streamline work apps. Work-specific apps like Slack or Microsoft Teams are a bit trickier because they usually mix important updates with not-so-important chatter. Fine-tune the settings to only receive notifications for critical updates or mentions. This selective filtering will keep the important messages coming through while blocking the noise. Automate, your invisible butler. Once the unnecessary notifications are pruned, it's time to employ technology to handle the rest. Think of automation as having a personal butler, sorting your messages and calls so that only the important ones get through. Email filters. Every email service offers filters and folders for sorting emails automatically. Set rules so that less important emails bypass the inbox and go into folders to be checked at a later time. App management. Automate how apps deliver notifications. Some apps allow you to schedule quiet times where notifications are silenced. Others allow notifications to be grouped so that a single summary notification is sent rather than individual alerts. Relegate, the art of delegation. The third step is relegation, and it's all about not carrying the entire load by oneself. Forwarding calls and messages. If there are tasks that don't require personal attention, forward those calls or messages to a team member or assistant. This frees up more time for tasks that truly need focus. Scheduled check-ins. Instead of being available for queries all day, schedule specific times to check messages or respond to emails. Make these check-in times known so that team members are aware and can schedule their questions accordingly. Eliminate, the final frontier. The last step is the most straightforward yet the hardest to implement: elimination. If a particular type of communication doesn't serve any useful purpose, cut it out entirely. Redundant platforms. Sometimes people use multiple platforms for the same purpose. If email and a work messaging app are both being used for project updates, pick one and stick with it. Eliminate the redundancy. Useless updates. Some apps are notorious for sending engagement notifications. These are messages designed only to pull you back into using the app. If an app's notifications aren't directly beneficial, it's time to eliminate them. Stitching it together. Implementing DARE is not about turning off the world or disconnecting. It's about taking control. Decluttering removes the junk. Automation turns technology into a useful tool. Relegation distributes the load and makes room for focused work. And finally, elimination cuts out the unnecessary, making room for what truly matters. A lifelong journey. Mastering your notifications using the DARE model is not a one-time job, but a continuous process. The technology will evolve. New apps and new types of notifications will emerge. The DARE model equips you with the tools to adapt and remain in control, no matter what the future holds. The silent revolution. As you begin to implement the DARE model, something remarkable happens. The constant buzzing and beeping that once filled the air start to fade, and in its place comes the sound of silence. But it's not just any silence. It's a silence filled with potential, with focus, and most importantly, with peace. This peace has a ripple effect. It permeates through work, improves quality of life, and turns each day into an opportunity rather than a hurdle. By taking control of your notifications today, you're setting the stage for a more productive, less stressful, and far more satisfying life. So dare to take control. Dare to focus. Dare to be better. Chapter 13. Team Communication. Creating a culture of focus. Changing the dynamics. Imagine leading a team where every member is engaged, focused, and highly productive. This is not a far-off dream, but a reachable goal. However, achieving this involves more than just individual efforts. It's about creating a culture that fosters focus. Team leaders have a critical role to play in shaping this environment. The team agreement, a contract for productivity. Think of a team agreement as a contract that outlines how communication should happen, whether it's the medium used, email, Slack, meetings, or the timing, urgent versus non-urgent. A team agreement sets the standard. Urgent versus important. Identify which types of communication are urgent and which are important. Urgent messages might require an instant response, while important ones can wait. Make sure the team knows the difference. Meeting norms. Too many meetings can clog up a workday. Be specific about when meetings should happen and what requires a meeting in the first place. A simple rule might be that if an issue can be solved in a 5-minute call, a meeting isn't needed. Asynchronous communication, the unsung hero. Asynchronous communication allows team members to reply to messages when it suits them best, rather than instantly. This way, they're not pulled out of deep work sessions by constant messages. Encourage team members to check their messages at specific times during the day and to turn off notifications for non-urgent communications. The no interruptions window. Set up a specific window of time where team members are not to be disturbed. This could be a 2-hour block in the morning or afternoon where everyone dives deep into their work without the fear of interruption. Make sure this is clearly marked on shared calendars or status indicators in communication apps. Meeting-free days. Consider designating specific days of the week as meeting-free. These are the days where the team focuses solely on tasks at hand, free from the distractions that meetings often bring. Make it okay to say no. Creating a culture where it's acceptable to decline a meeting or delay a response to a message can be liberating. Make it known that team members should prioritize their task and should feel empowered to say no to distractions. The visual cue. In the zone indicators. Some teams use visual cues like do not disturb signs or status indicators in communication apps to show when they are in deep work mode. This visual cue helps team members respect each other's focus time. Transparency. Share the big picture. When team members understand the big picture, they are better at determining what is important and what is not. Regularly update them on project statuses and deadlines to keep everyone aligned and focused on the same goals. Training and onboarding. Instill the culture early on. The best time to introduce these norms is when a new member joins the team. Make the communication guidelines part of the onboarding process, ensuring every team member starts with the same set of expectations. Open door policy, but with limits. Having an open door policy encourages open communication, but set limits. Make it known that while you're approachable, the open door has specific hours. Celebrate the wins. Make it a habit to celebrate when these changes lead to project successes or high productivity. Positive reinforcement makes the team more likely to stick to these new communication norms. Iterate and improve. Review the communication policies periodically. Are they working? Are people more focused? Gather feedback from the team and make adjustments as needed. Conclusion: the quiet revolution. The journey toward a focused team culture is continuous. Technology will evolve, new distractions will emerge, but with a solid plan and a commitment to focus, you set the stage for sustained productivity and success. It's a quiet revolution, one where the noise fades away, and what's left is a team that's more engaged, more balanced, and far more effective. Chapter 14. Meetings, the silent productivity killer. Why meetings get a bad rap. Picture this. The workday starts with energy and focus, but soon the calendar pings, time for a meeting. One meeting leads to another, and suddenly the day is almost over, and not much has been done. Meetings, intended to foster collaboration and decision-making, often end up devouring precious time. A meeting isn't just a meeting. Believe it or not, all meetings are not created equal. Some are brainstorming sessions, while others are status updates or decision-making platforms. Knowing the type of meeting being held can guide the time and energy invested. The cost of a meeting. Ever think how much a meeting actually cost? Add up the hourly rates of everyone in the room, and the number can be eye-opening. Then there's the invisible cost, the lost focus and time taken away from other tasks. The trick is to make sure the outcome of the meeting is worth the investment. Agenda, the meeting blueprint. Going into a meeting without a clear agenda is like sailing without a compass. An agenda sets the direction and helps the leader stick to key points. Distribute it ahead of time so participants can come prepared. The 2-pizza rule. The more people in a meeting, the less gets done. Stick to the 2-pizza rule. Never have more people in a meeting than could be fed by 2 pizzas. Smaller groups are more focused and agile, making it easier to reach a consensus. Stick to the clock. Time boxing. Ever notice how tasks swell to fit the time allotted? The same applies to meetings. Use time boxing to assign specific durations for each topic on the agenda. When time's up, move on, period. The power of stand-up meetings. Something magical happens when people stand. Meetings become shorter. Stand-up meetings discourage long debates and keep the energy high. Great for quick check-ins and updates. The no meeting day. Consider designating one day per week where no meetings are scheduled. This uninterrupted time lets everyone deep dive into tasks that require focus. It's like a mini vacation from the hustle and bustle. Virtual meetings. Use wisely. Virtual meetings can be both a blessing and a curse. They cut down on travel time but can suffer from tech issues and lack of engagement. Use video to keep things more interactive and mute when not speaking to cut down on background noise. Take notes, share minutes. Assign someone to jot down key points and decisions. Circulate the meeting minutes afterward to keep everyone aligned. It also serves as a useful reference for those who could not attend. Exit strategy, the clear action plan. Wrap up the meeting with a clear action plan. Who is responsible for what and by when? This converts talk into action and sets the stage for accountability. Decline when necessary. Yes, it's okay to decline a meeting invite. If attendance won't add value, or if the cost in time and focus is too high, a polite decline is justified. Offer to catch up via email or a brief call instead. Reevaluate regularly. Just because a meeting was needed once doesn't mean it's needed forever. Regularly review recurring meetings to see if they still serve their purpose. If not, it might be time to pull the plug. The meeting-free zone. Create meeting-free zones in the workday where the focus is on getting tasks done. For instance, no meetings before 11 a.m. could be a rule. This ensures that everyone starts the day with a productive mindset. Conclusion. The meeting makeover. Meetings are a fact of life, but they don't have to be a life sentence of wasted time and lost focus. By adopting these strategies, a shift happens. Meetings transform from time sinks into valuable forums for collaboration and decision-making. That's not just good for productivity, it's good for the soul. Meetings have been dethroned as the productivity killers. What replaces them is a smarter, leaner way to collaborate, a way that complements rather than competes with the need to get stuff done. And in that new role, they become a key player in the team's journey toward achieving incredible goals. Chapter 15. Email Mastery. The truth about email. Let's not mince words. Email can be a beast. It promises the lure of connectivity and productivity, but often delivers a maze of distraction and time wasting. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Email is a tool, and like any tool, its usefulness depends on how well it's wielded. The incessant ping. The ping of an incoming email is almost hypnotic. It says, "Hey, something new, something urgent." But more often than not, that urgent thing isn't what's most important. All those pings add up, creating an atmosphere of constant interruption. It's time to reclaim control. The cost of switching gears. Every time there's a shift from a task to checking email, there's a mental cost. That switch might feel tiny, but it adds up. Researchers call this the switching cost, and it's one of the biggest silent drains on productivity. Priority inbox, the VIP list. Most email platforms offer a way to prioritize emails from certain contacts or with certain subjects. It's time to make use of this feature. Tag important contacts so their emails show up first, allowing for immediate attention to what really matters. Again, the 2-minute rule. When going through the inbox, apply the 2-minute rule. If reading and responding to an email takes 2 minutes or less, do it right then. For anything that requires more time, flag it and come back when there's a block of time dedicated to deeper work. Batch processing. The power hour. Instead of sprinkling email checking throughout the day, consider block scheduling time for it. Maybe it's the first hour of the workday or right after lunch. Consistent email blocks turn a fragmented process into a streamlined operation. Keyboard shortcuts, the secret sauce. Imagine cutting down email time by 25%. That's what keyboard shortcuts can achieve. Learn them, use them, and see the magic happen. In a world obsessed with speed, this is low-hanging fruit to grab. Folders and labels, a place for everything. The inbox is not a storage unit. Use folders and labels to sort emails into relevant categories. This system makes finding old emails easier and keeps the inbox clutter-free. The auto response. Setting expectations. No one can be on email 24/7, nor should they be. An auto response can manage expectations, letting people know when to expect a reply. This feature can be especially useful during focus blocks or out-of-office times. The email signature. More than just a name. An often overlooked space, the email signature can be a workhorse. Use it to provide alternate contact information or to link to a frequently asked questions page. It's a simple way to preemptively answer queries and save back and forths. Unsubscribe, the power of no. In the battle against email clutter, the unsubscribe button is a powerful ally. If a newsletter or update doesn't provide value, unsubscribe. It's about quality, not quantity. Advanced search, the needle in the haystack. Learn the art of advanced search in the email platform. Being able to quickly find an old email based on a keyword, date, or sender can be a massive time saver. The dreaded spam. Don't let it lurk. Take time to regularly clear out the spam folder. While filters are good at catching irrelevant emails, sometimes important messages can slip through and end up in spam. Make it a habit to quickly scan and clean this folder. The Social and Promotions tab. The necessary evils. Platforms like Gmail sort emails into primary, social, and promotions tabs. While annoying, these tabs do help categorize emails. Check these less frequently and consider them low priority unless proven otherwise. Conclusion. Be the master, not the slave. With strategies in place, the relationship with email transforms. It stops being a master demanding constant attention and becomes a helpful assistant. It's time for that shift. Don't let the inbox dictate the flow of the day. Instead, use it as a tool that aids in achieving bigger goals. So, adopt these tactics and practices. Once they become second nature, you'll find that not only is the inbox more manageable, but the overall sense of productivity and focus throughout the day is significantly enhanced. Chapter 16. Slashing Slack Overload. The allure and the chaos. Slack and other communication platforms promised a new age of workplace collaboration, a digital utopia where teams could communicate effortlessly. In reality, for many, it's become yet another vortex of distractions. But it's not Slack's fault. It's how it's used that makes all the difference. Unread messages. The visual clutter. Log into Slack and there they are. Red circles next to channels, announcing unread messages. It's a visual mess and it feels like homework waiting to be done. Time to clean house. Mute the noise. The essential first step. The power to mute is liberating. Mute channels that aren't relevant or urgent. Most Slack users are part of channels they rarely engage in, but still eat up their attention. Hit that mute button. Pin and star. Keep what matters. Pin important messages and documents for quick access. Star channels that are a must for daily work. This way, critical info isn't lost in the deluge of conversations. Slack shortcuts. The keyboard wizard. Much like email, Slack has shortcuts that make life easier. Learn the basic ones. It's a small change with a big impact. Navigating between channels or answering a message is just a keystroke away. Timed mute. The power of silence. Slack allows users to mute notifications for a set period. Use this during focused work sessions. Turn off the noise, but only for as long as needed. Set a status, the digital do not disturb. Slack statuses are there for a reason. In a meeting or focusing sends a clear signal to teammates. It's the digital equivalent of a do not disturb sign on an office door. Threads. Keep it tidy. Replying in threads instead of the main channel keeps the conversation focused and doesn't flood everyone's feed. It's like keeping side discussions in the margin of meeting notes, there but not distracting. Daily recap. The power of summary. Busy channels can generate hundreds of messages per day. Assign someone to provide a daily recap so that everyone can catch up without scrolling forever. It's a small step that boosts productivity. Slack apps. Use with caution. Slack integrates with other apps, Calendar, Task Manager, even Twitter. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. Too many integrations lead to an overload of notifications. Direct messages. Less can be more. Be mindful with direct messages. They pull attention away from work and can be distracting for the recipient. Ask, could this be better suited for a channel where multiple people might benefit from the information? Active hours. Setting boundaries. Set active hours on Slack to show when you're available. It's okay not to be available all the time. In fact, it's healthy. Setting boundaries is good for you and sets an example for the team. Review notifications, a weekly ritual. Take time each week to review Slack settings. Are all the channels still relevant? Are there muted conversations that should now be unmuted? Regular upkeep helps keep Slack a tool, not a chore. The culture. Make it explicit. If the team is suffering from Slack overload, chances are they're not alone. Discuss the issue openly. Come up with guidelines that everyone agrees on. Make smart Slack use a part of the team culture. The end game. Slack is a tool, not a tyrant. By implementing these best practices, Slack can return to its rightful place as a useful tool rather than an attention tyrant. Remember, tools are only as effective as the skill of the person using them. Make Slack work for you, not the other way around. So, put these tactics to work. Take the reins and master Slack, turning it from a productivity pit into a powerhouse of efficient team communication. Once these habits become part of the daily routine, a shift will occur, not just in how Slack is used, but in overall productivity and focus. Chapter 17. Batching, your next best friend. The problem with pecking away. Here's the thing. Imagine you have a pile of laundry. You wouldn't wash one sock, wait for it to dry, then wash the other. So why handle work tasks that way? Responding to each email or Slack message, the second it comes in, is like doing laundry one sock at a time. You get the job done, but it's inefficient. It's time to get acquainted with the concept of batching. The basics of batching. Batching is taking tasks that are similar and doing them all at once, in a single time slot. Instead of bouncing from task to task, you're sticking to one type of activity. This doesn't just make you faster, it frees up mental energy too. Switching between tasks eats up brain power. But when you batch, your brain gets to stay in one lane, speeding down the highway of productivity. Email, the constant interruption. Take email, for instance. It's a necessity, but also a massive time sink. Rather than dealing with emails as they come in, try this. Set 2 or 3 times a day just for handling emails. You'll soon notice it's not just about clearing the inbox, it's also about reclaiming focus and time for other things. Social media. Curate, don't scroll. Instead of scrolling endlessly, set aside 2 15-minute slots each day to engage with social media. Use this time wisely. Catch up with the news, reply to messages, and maybe post something of your own. And then step away. Meetings. Group them together. How many times have you had a single meeting break up your entire day? Instead, schedule meetings back to back in a block. You'll have the rest of the day free for deep work. Work projects. One type at a time. Instead of doing a bit of writing, a bit of research, a bit of brainstorming, all in one go, batch these activities. Spend one block of time just researching, another just writing, and another just brainstorming. It's like cooking. You wouldn't chop a single vegetable, cook it, and then eat it. You prepare all your ingredients first, cook them together, and then enjoy the meal. The benefits of themed days. Take batching to another level by dedicating entire days to similar tasks. Mondays for meetings, Tuesdays for creative work, Wednesdays for admin tasks, and so on. This approach minimizes the mental toll of shifting gears throughout the day. Setting up batching time blocks. Start by identifying the tasks that can be batched together. Then, use a timer to set specific time blocks for these tasks. Be strict about only doing those tasks in those time blocks. This creates a structure that leaves less room for distractions and more room for focus. The catch. Be flexible, but not loose. While it's important to stick to batching, life happens. Sometimes a super urgent email can't wait, and that's okay. The point is not to be rigid, but to create a default setting that's efficient. A single exception shouldn't become the rule. The mindset shift. Quality over quantity. The batching technique isn't just about doing more, it's about doing better. This focus on quality over quantity results in better work and a more balanced life. A peek at the numbers. Studies show that task switching can cost as much as 40% of someone's productive time. That's almost half the workday lost. Batching, by contrast, makes better use of this time, essentially gifting more productive hours. The domino effect. Batch and see. The benefits of batching extend beyond the workday. A more focused work life leads to a more relaxed home life. You're not bringing home stressed or unfinished tasks because you've dealt with them efficiently. And guess what? This also makes you better at your job because a balanced life contributes to a focused and productive work mindset. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. The idea is simple, but execution can be tough. The biggest pitfalls? Overloading a batch with too many tasks or making the time blocks too long. Keep it realistic. And if something doesn't get done in one batch, it rolls over to the next. No big deal. The end game. The mastery of time. In the grand scheme of things, the biggest win is mastery over time. And in today's busy world, who doesn't need that? By turning batching into a habit, not only is work more manageable, but there's also more time for play, for family, and for self. Isn't that the ultimate goal? So there it is, the lowdown on batching. A simple yet powerful technique that could revolutionize the way work gets done. Turn it into a daily habit and watch the magic happen. It's not just about being more productive, it's about reclaiming time and focus, which is invaluable in today's world. Chapter 18. An Individual's Guide to Company Policy Change. The Weight of Company Culture. Imagine walking into a gym for the first time. The vibe, the equipment, the community, it all shapes the workout experience. The same goes for a workplace. Company culture is like that gym atmosphere. It sets the tone for how work gets done. The problem? Not all gyms or companies are designed for peak performance. Sometimes it's up to a single individual to start the change. The goal: a communication policy that works for all. Emails, Slack messages, constant meetings. This is the noise of today's work environment. It interrupts, it distracts, and it eats away at valuable time. What if there was a way to be more focused while still staying connected? That's where the need for a more focused communication policy comes into play. Understanding the lay of the land. Before rushing in with proposed changes, it's vital to understand the current setup. Are there already rules around email timings? Is Slack causing more problems than it's solving? Get the big picture first. This isn't about blaming the system. It's about identifying what needs improvement. Building a solid case. Once the issues are clear, it's time to build a solid case. Bring in data if possible. Use surveys, charts, or even anecdotes to show how the current state of affairs is affecting work quality and life balance. Make it impossible to ignore the problem. Start small. The pilot program. Don't aim to overhaul the entire company policy in one go. Instead, suggest a pilot program within a small team. Document everything: the challenges, the benefits, and the overall impact on work quality. This small-scale approach will help iron out kinks and build a strong case for a company-wide shift. The art of persuasion. Enlist allies. Find others who feel the same way, whether it's co-workers or even higher-ups. The more people who support the cause, the stronger the argument will be. Numbers speak louder than a solo voice in the wilderness. Crafting the proposal. Take all this data and support and craft a compelling proposal. Be clear, concise, and focused. Spell out the problems, offer solutions, and back it up with evidence. Make it so compelling that saying no would seem unreasonable. The pitch. Choose the right time and place. This isn't a hallway conversation. This needs a proper setting where key decision-makers can give their full attention. Maybe it's a team meeting, or maybe it's a one-on-one with a manager. The point is to choose the setting as carefully as the words in the proposal. Brace for resistance, but stick to the script. Let's be real. Change is hard. There will be objections, maybe even strong ones. Anticipate them and prepare answers. The pilot program is the ace up the sleeve here. If it shows positive results, it becomes hard to argue against a wider rollout. Implement, observe, tweak. So the proposal got a thumbs up. Great, but the work isn't done. Implement the changes, but keep an eye out for unexpected challenges. This is a time for observation and tweaking to make sure the new policy actually delivers on its promises. Celebrate wins, no matter how small. Any positive change, no matter how tiny, is a win. It could be fewer late-night emails or a noticeable drop in stress levels. Celebrate these wins to keep momentum going. Keep the conversation alive. This isn't a set-and-forget kind of deal. Keep the lines of communication open. Make it a point to check in regularly to see how the new policy is affecting people. Be open to further tweaks. From one to many, scaling the change. Once the pilot program is deemed a success, it's time to think bigger. Use the success story to persuade the higher-ups to roll out the new communication policy across the organization. Final thoughts. Be the change. The truth is, big shifts start small. A single individual, armed with a solid case and a dose of persistence, can indeed change company policy. This isn't just about making a single job easier. It's about setting a precedent that could possibly affect an entire organization. By actively taking part in shaping company policy, there's a bigger win: becoming an agent of change in a world that sorely needs it. So take that first step. Do the research, build the case, make the pitch. In a sea of noise and endless notifications, become the voice that cuts through, advocating for focus and efficiency, because in the end, a better work culture benefits everyone. Chapter 19. Measuring your success. Know where you're going to see how far you've come. Starting a journey without a map might seem adventurous, but it's hard to tell how far you've come without knowing where you are headed. So it goes in the quest to trim down digital noise and boost productivity. Metrics, or key performance indicators, KPIs, act as that map, giving concrete markers to measure success. Why measure in the first place? Does one fewer email really make a difference? Is it worth it to silence all those Slack notifications? The answer lies in data. By tracking specific KPIs, the impact or lack thereof of changes becomes crystal clear. Decide what matters, choosing the right KPIs. Not all numbers are created equal. Picking the right KPIs is like choosing the right tools for a job. The wrong ones won't get you far. When it comes to cutting down digital interruptions, consider these 4 things. 1. Time spent on task. How long does it take to complete a specific job without interruptions? 2. Error rate. Are there fewer mistakes with fewer distractions? 3. Mental fatigue. Rate personal levels of mental exhaustion at the end of the day on a scale from 1 to 10. And 4. Work-life balance. Is it easier to unplug from work during off hours? The tracking tools. Keep it simple. No need for fancy software. A simple spreadsheet will do. For those who like apps, there are plenty out there designed to track time and productivity. The key is consistency. Whether it's daily or weekly, make sure the data is collected regularly. Setting a baseline. Know your starting point. Before making any changes, track the chosen KPIs for at least a week to establish a baseline. This gives a snapshot of the current situation, against which all future data will be compared. Implementing changes, one at a time. With the baseline in hand, start implementing changes one by one. Maybe it's silencing social media notifications during work hours, or setting email to update only once an hour. The goal is to isolate the effect of each change on the KPIs. Keep an eye on the numbers. Monitor changes. As changes roll out, keep tracking the KPIs. It's like watching the speedometer while driving. A quick glance can confirm whether things are on track or need adjustment. Make adjustments. Tweak as needed. If after a week the numbers haven't budged, consider tweaking the approach. Maybe it's the KPIs themselves that need reevaluation, or perhaps a different strategy is in order. The beauty of data is that it doesn't lie. If something's not working, the numbers will show it. Calculate the ROI, the true measure of success. Success is more than just better numbers. The real indicator of achievement is the return on investment, or ROI. How much more work gets done with fewer distractions? Is the quality of life outside work improved? To find out, calculate the ROI by measuring the benefits against the effort put in to achieve them. Keep in mind, correlation doesn't mean causation. Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean one caused the other. Maybe productivity went up the same week as a new change was implemented, but it could also be because of something else, like less workload that week. Always look for consistent patterns over time to draw meaningful conclusions. Scaling up, broadening the scope. Once a change shows a positive impact on KPIs over an extended period, consider scaling it up. Whether that means expanding to other types of work or implementing it across a team, the goal is to maximize benefits. The ongoing journey. Keep measuring. This isn't a one-and-done deal. The workplace changes, life changes, and new distractions will always pop up. Keeping an eye on the KPIs ensures that you stay ahead of the game, making adjustments as needed. Celebrate the wins. Learn from losses. Every bit of improvement is a win, and every setback is a lesson. Celebrate the milestones, but also take the time to learn from what didn't work. Both are invaluable in the long-term journey toward a more focused and productive life. Wrapping it up, the power of knowing. The simple act of measuring can turn abstract goals into tangible results. With the right KPIs and a commitment to regular tracking, the dream of a quieter, more focused workday becomes a measured, achievable reality. So why guess when you can know? Start tracking those KPIs, tweak strategies based on data, and watch how small changes can lead to big wins. After all, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets done. Chapter 20. The Road Ahead. Staying Productive in an Age of Distraction. The finish line is just a new starting point. Navigating through the digital landscape of emails, notifications, and endless scrolling is a modern-day challenge. But armed with the right strategies and a toolbox of tactics, that obstacle course transforms into a straight road leading to a better, more focused life. Knowledge is power, but application is key. Knowing how to cut through the noise is one thing. Making it a lifelong practice is another. And let's be clear, the battle against distractions isn't a one-time deal. It's an ongoing commitment, a daily choice to stay the course. Long-term gains over short-term pleasure. Pushing aside the enticing buzz of a new message for the rewarding but delayed gratification of completed work is tough. But remember, the long-term gains of a focused life far outweigh the short-term highs of constant digital engagement. The strategy of no strategy. Building habits. The aim is to make these focus techniques second nature, so there's no need for a separate strategy or daily reminders. How? By turning them into habits. Make a regular appointment to review emails, schedule downtime without devices, and stick to it until it becomes routine. Keep adapting. The only constant is change. New apps will be developed. New types of distractions will arise. The trick is to remain agile, ready to adapt and tweak the strategies in place to meet these new challenges. A well-oiled machine. Regular checkups. Just like a car needs regular tune-ups, the strategies implemented need periodic reviews. Maybe that email system that worked like a charm last year isn't cutting it anymore. Or perhaps that focus playlist has lost its magic. Whatever it is, be open to adjusting based on feedback and results. Stay updated. Keep an eye on the horizon. Technology evolves rapidly. Staying updated doesn't mean jumping on every new app or platform, but being aware of new tools that could potentially help in achieving a more focused work environment. Keep an eye out, read reviews, and when something seems like a good fit, try integrating it into an existing setup. Delegate and elevate. Share the knowledge. Let's face it, no one is an island. Work involves team members, bosses, and stakeholders. Share what's been learned about staying focused in the digital world. Discuss the successes and encourage others to try these strategies. The more people in a network practicing good digital hygiene, the less the overall noise. Back to basics. When in doubt, simplify. When everything seems too overwhelming, go back to the basics. Turn off notifications, step away from the devices, and take a walk outside. Sometimes, the best way to refocus is to disconnect, even if it's just for a little while. Setting boundaries. It's okay to say no. Not every email needs an immediate response. Not every message deserves immediate attention, and that's okay. It's not about being available all the time, but about being available at the right time, giving full attention to the task or person at hand. The power of community. You're not alone. Believe it or not, everyone struggles with distractions. Sharing struggles, strategies, and successes with a community can be empowering. There's strength in numbers and immense value in learning how others tackle similar challenges. Future-proofing, the ultimate goal. The goal isn't just to survive in this age of distraction, but to thrive. By implementing these strategies and making them a part of daily life, a protective shield is built around focus and productivity. And while the types of distractions may change, the ability to deal with them effectively becomes a lifelong asset. The takeaway. Don't forget the why. In the hustle and bustle of managing distractions, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Remember why this journey started in the first place, whether it's to get more done, spend quality time with loved ones, or simply enjoy some peace of mind. That reason is the guiding star. Don't lose sight of it. Conclusion. The end of the beginning. Consider this as not the end, but as the beginning of a focused, efficient life. Each day offers a new chance to apply what's been learned, to make better choices, and to live a more focused, fulfilling life. So celebrate the wins, learn from the setbacks, and keep pushing forward, because the road ahead is clear, and it's there for the taking.